Well, hey guys, welcome to this edition of Easy Street Garage. Listen, sit down, get a cold beverage, take a break, because today we're going to do brakes. Okay guys, in today's episode, we're going to replace our OE pads that came on that GT350 because I'm tired of all that brake dust. And for those guys that are avid track guys, I get it. I know what you're thinking. But for me, it's all about the street wear, and I'm not tracking this car, at least now. And so I'm going to go to a less aggressive pad. Noise and dust. And for me as a street guy, I'm looking for those key factors. I want low noise, I want low dust, and we're going to talk about that in the pads that I went with. Okay? The other piece of puzzle that I looked at, of course, was with the larger rotors that are on the GT350, you got to really focus in on a couple key elements. And that was the issue with fade, stopping power, and then the higher heat and the need for cooling, coefficient of friction versus temperature, okay? So the fact is that most of these pads are made up of iron, copper, steel, graphite, organic materials. The other key factor that you need to consider, and that is the whole concept of going to a full ceramic pad with maybe a copper fiber. A couple key things that I want to talk about though in this pad and how these things are made up, because that's important in your selection. All these pads have a backing plate, as you well know. Some of these pads, pad backing plates, have a non-squeak or a non-noisy pad, if you would, on the back side of them. The pads I chose do. We're going to look at the factor here is that pads are made up differently. The ones I have basically a slot in the middle. That slot is there to eliminate basically the debris that collects around the pad from the road and the pad itself, and of course the rotor. The other thing that it does is that groove in there, just like the groove in the sidewalk or the driveway of your house, allows for expansion. Very important. The other key piece of the puzzle is the pads I have, you'll see in most pads, have a degree of chamfer on the edge of the pad. And that is important because that improves pad engagement, and it also reduces noise, okay? Noise is a key. All you guys that own these GT350s know that noise is an issue, and we're going to try to eliminate that the best we can today with the pads we have and the installation process we're going to use. I just want to give a shout out to one of our viewers that commented on our last video on the oil change on this Shelby GT350, the Motorcraft oil filter. And the reason for that is because I don't want to void my warranty, number one. And the comment was basically that the Magnuson Moss Act of 1975 also includes the fact that the oil filter itself is included in that legal act, okay? So research that a little bit more on your own, but I thank you for your shout out from one of my subscribers. I appreciate that, and please keep those comments coming as long as they're positive, right? Okay, anyway. Hey, research on this. I've looked at compounds. I think I've made the best judgment call. However, time only tells, right? When we get into this, okay? So here's what I did. Drum roll, please. I chose the Hawk HB series of brakes. And the reason I did that was because what my research showed was it's still a performance pad, okay? It does have a possibility of a little bit more fade with heat over time. However, I think that they're less aggressive for me as a street guy. But most importantly, I want less dust. I went to the HB, these are 903Bs, right, .604. That's the front pad. Well made. I think this is a great pad for the back. These would happen to be the HB. These are 604B .630. If I decide later on I want to go to the track and I want a more aggressive pad, okay? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be installing the Caliperfexion studs. I went with the stainless steel because it was only a difference of $5. So we're going to install these things, show you a little bit about that on the video. And then the other thing I did is I did also go for the extenders, all right? The really neat thing about these extenders are that once you loosen the nut on the stud, you can then install the extender, which gives you the ability to slide your caliper up this whole assembly. And I'll show you how we're going to do that in a little bit. And then easily change the pads out of the Brembo brake calipers. You've got this heavy caliper you're trying to suspend or sit down onto a fixture, whereas in this case you can just slide them right up once you get to the track, pull out the pads. All of these products that I'm showing you right now, I paid for, all right? So this is going to be a real honest review. Please stay tuned because we got some other stuff we're going to show you here in this edition of Easy Street Garage. And by the way, before we even get any further, us YouTubers live and die on subscriptions. I don't ask for subscribers enough. Before I go any further, reach down right there in the corner of this screen arrow, which is just a watermark. If you hit that, you're going to be subscribed to this channel, Easy Street Garage, and we have some great content coming out this summer. We're going to be in Ponies at the Smokies. Ponies in the Smokies, okay? We're going to be there. We're also going to be at Summer Night Cruise. We're also going to be in Woodward Dream Cruise. We're going to be at a lot of events, and I want to see you guys there. Please subscribe. And so let's get started on this brake set. Here we are. First things first, we're going to take the wheel off, all right? But I wanted to just give you a quick shout out as it relates to working on the floor. You know, I have a lift, but I really don't have the jacking set up on the lift to get wheels off, put wheels on, so on and so forth. So I do it on the ground, and quite frankly, I like to sit on the ground while I work. So one of the things that I do is I have the nice pad. I got this pad over at Harbor Freight, right? So, and then of course your good Milwaukee impact wrench. Okay, so we're going to make short order of getting this wheel off, and then we're going to get started on the rear brakes, and we'll show you what tools you need to get going on these brakes. Kind of where I put my whole body into it, support the wheel, because I don't want this thing flying off and messing up the finish on my wheel. So I just support the wheel with both legs, and then guys, here we go, off she comes. First of all, some nitrile gloves. These brakes put off some really harmful, nasty stuff. Don't think you want to touch it, so I would encourage this, okay? The other piece of the puzzle is I've carried some brake cleaner over here with me, and I have a small pan right here, and what I'll do when I pull the spring off, I'll clean the spring up. Obviously you're going to need a punch to push out the pins that are located here, the keeper pins, and then also some brake caliper grease, and then a small little brush to daub that grease on. I also have a Scotch-Brite pad here with me, and of course a mallet. You could also that said, we're going to get right into this disassembly. We're going to clean it up. We're going to insert the new pads and move from there. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to punch out these bottom pins first. Again, you have a little bit of spring tension there. But, you can see we've got that rear pin on its way out. You just need to push that spring in a bit, and there you can see pin number 1 is out. Now that the spring tension's pretty much off, this top pin comes out pretty easily. And so the one thing that I do recommend, guys, when you're doing this job is to take the cap off of your brake reservoir up there. That allows you the ability then to compress your pistons a lot easier. And then, you know, you can, obviously you need to put it back on when you're finished, but it just helps to compress those pistons. You don't have any pressure fighting you. We're going to take these pads out and we'll install the new one. Okay guys, pads are about ready to come out, but I'm going to take this spring and I'm going to clean it up just a tad bit. You could use mineral spirits if you want. That works pretty well on these parts, but for me, I'm just pretty handy. I've already got the brake cleaner out here. Also, you want to take your pins, clean those up a bit. And okay, we're going to slide the pads out. We're going to take a look at them. You know, the OE pads, interesting enough, off the car, in the rear anyway, have no lube on them at all. The rear pad has no expansion groove in it, whereas the Hawks do. Okay guys, we're going to apply a little bit of anti-squeal grease back here on this pad. Okay guys, time for the spring to go in. I like to add a little bit of the brake grease. I mean, you don't have to go crazy with this, and please don't, because you can make an awful mess, but I like to put a little bit of grease on the spring. Basically, they're in. As soon as that's done, it's time to move on to the front. Saw how easy the back brakes are on this car. They are super easy. What to do on wheels, okay? I'm stuck on the signature wheels. Terrence, I'm gonna try to get some of your wheels on this car, but man, I am really perplexed on what to put on here, okay? Going away from black and moving to maybe silver. Thought about bronze. Guys, put comments down below. What wheel combination should I put on this car? Is 14 millimeter open end lug on the rotor, just to kind of keep it in place. So this little stool, it's the perfect height to set this caliper on this. Yep. And I know the first thing you guys are going to tell me, I probably should have done it, is to turn the wheel, okay, to the left. That way the caliper is out here, and you have better access to the caliper. To install the Caliperfexion stud, stainless steel studs that go into the knuckle, the steering knuckle, and then that is going to give us some, I think, incredible accessibility to get into this caliper for the future if we do decide to go to the track. While this caliper is still attached firmly to the steering knuckle, I'm going to go ahead and drive my pins out, and then the next piece of the puzzle is I am going to remove the caliper off the wheel, and then we'll install the studs. So. Start with the breaker bar and see what it's like, and that isn't too bad at all. Okay, these are installed with Loctite, and I think we're going to be able to switch around to a ratchet here, so I do have them broke loose, and that's a good thing. Just like the backs from Ford, literally, there's no lube on the back of this. So we've got ARP fasteners. I went with the stainless version. It was $5 difference. Then on the other end of this, basically you have the threads that go into the knuckle, the steering knuckle. This little bottom rounded edge is what bottoms out into the knuckle. And then once you bottom it out, you put about 5 pounds of torque on it. Lubrication, and I'm going to lube the threads as well By lubing the threads, then it requires only 80 pound-feet of torque to tighten the caliper nut. Okay. Threads in there, when you want to definitely clean them out because you want clean engagement of these studs when you're putting this thing together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some of the blue thread lock. This is provided to you from Caliperfexion. 3 7/16 of an inch from the ledge of the knuckle to the end of the stud. I went ahead and purchased these extension rods, okay, that go onto the studs. And they're actually shipped with a plug. This is kind of cool. They're thinking through the process for us guys that might be going to the track, but if you notice, I shipped them with this little plug that goes in there to keep dirt and debris out of these things. We're gonna, all right, we got this thing on. We don't have any pads in it, I get it, but we're going to apply the extensions here. And once I get these in, guys, and I slide the caliper back, I'm going to then get you some better access in here so you can see what this looks like. And the caliper is up, and I'm going to give you a closer look at what that looks like with these, with these, basically these stud extenders. They're on there, and the cool thing about this is the way it's designed is it will give you full access. I'm going to move some parts out of the way. It's going to give you full access to get in here and put our pads in, okay? So, wow, look at that, guys. Boom, pads. And then we're gonna go ahead and see how tough it is to get this together in real time, right? Okay, so this is the first pad going in. Got our orientation there finally. And look at that, that's pretty cool. It went right in. Awesome, okay. First pad in, up against the spring. Second pad, guys, in and going up against the spring. Okay. To slide the caliper back down onto the rotor, and there you see we got our caliper back down onto the rotor. Easy peasy. And if you were at the racetrack and you were going to do this, or in the future you want to, just do a brake swap for different road conditions, you could do it. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to give these guys a 10. The quality of the product, the rolled threads, the directions, the whole shooting match, guys. These guys they've done a phenomenal job. Everything's traveling freely in there. That's what you want. And if I could reduce my stress over the dust on my wheels by half, then it will have been well worth it to install these. We're gonna get this car on the ground. We're gonna finish off all of our torques to 150 foot-pounds, and then we're gonna go out and we're gonna bed these brakes in. Get up to about 50 miles an hour, and then we're gonna just apply the brakes. We won't come to a complete stop. We'll do that a couple times until we have enough pad transfer between the new pads and the rotors here. Okay, guys, hey, thank you for tuning into this edition of Easy Street Garage. We love our subscribers. Give it a thumbs up if you like what we had for you today. Hey, also, by the way, comment down below, and in that watermark right over here, that's the subscribe button. If you hit that button, you will be part of the Easy Street Garage family. So until next time, we appreciate y'all tuning in to Easy Street Garage.